Empire.
Welcome to the latest episode of All's Caps with former Capitals defenseman Karl. I'm AP hockey writer Steve Wino. I guess this is the Christmas break edition of All's Caps, right, Karl?
Yeah, it is. Everybody's on the break. Hockey got started on their break a little bit earlier. I definitely feel like I'm on a break, trying to figure out what to do with the kids all day long, since now that they're home and there's nothing else going on. And it's actually like relatively cold outside here too in DC. So even getting out to the parks and stuff, it's tough right now. So yeah, I'm feeling Christmas break, that's for sure.
We'll get into. I want to get into the Christmas break thing first, but we haven't talked enough about your Disney vacation and your mess of getting home from all of that yet. You did get your family to Florida to Disney earlier this month, and then you had some colossal disaster getting home, right?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was one of the more interesting travel days I've ever had. And yeah, it's quite a long story, but kind of the Coles notes is we got to the airport at a reasonable time. We got through the check-in process pretty quick, I'd say, and we were kind of feeling pretty good about ourselves. We're like, let's go grab some lunch, whatever, just kind of relax. And then we round the corner and I saw the world's longest security line. Like, I've never seen
it looked crazy.
Line.
It looked insane.
Yeah, it was absolutely insane. And so we got into that line, started moving. I don't even know how long it took, but it took a really long time. We finally got through, and we realized, holy smokes, like we're going to be done boarding in about 5 minutes. So we had to get on a shuttle. We got to the gate, and we were running like Home Alone style, running through the airport. And we got there a minute and a half late, and so the gate was closed. But luckily, they got all 6 of us on the standby. On standby, we got on the next flight, got our tickets. It was just an hour later, so we missed the 5 o'clock flight. We were on the 6 o'clock flight, and that got delayed for mechanical reasons. And they had to bring in a new plane, which arrived at 8:30. And so, we were 3 kids. We only had so much food and diapers. And our youngest, since he's still in diapers, he ended up going through all those diapers. So we were holding on. He's a size 6 diaper. We had him stuffed into a size 3, just bursting at the seams. And so we were panicking about that. And anyways, we finally get on that flight, and it was so windy. Someone on Twitter had said, like, hopefully you guys aren't flying into DC because it's super windy today. And sure enough, we were going into Reagan, and we were coming in sideways, and we're about 10 feet from the ground where we had to pick back up and circled the airport, I think in total 3 times. Like, I actually have the flight path. Someone sent me a picture of it.
Yikes.
And then we ended up having to reroute, to Dulles. And same thing, came in sideways. We had a puker behind us. And we landed finally, and 2 of our 4 bags were at Dulles. The other 2 with our vehicle were at Reagan. So I had to take a taxi to Reagan, pick up that stuff. And then there was no van taxis at Dulles, so I had to make my way back out to Dulles to go and pick up the family. And luckily they got a van when I was like 10 minutes away. So turned back around to Arlington, and we finally got in at just before 2 a.m. So anyways, it was a long day, crazy day. I've experienced turbulence like that before, but it was up there. So I just felt bad for the kids, but we made it, and it was still worth it. The trip was still worth it, even though we had that at the end.
Yeah, I know you were making fun of Eric Fair for not being a good flyer, but a flight like that, I can understand it.
Yeah, well, those are the ones that make you worried. Like, it actually went through a little bit through my head, but my wife, she said it after. She's like, well, like, if we don't make it, like, at least we're all together. It's like
don't think like that.
Feeling.
Don't, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a terrible feeling though, as a parent, if you're like, if you and your wife are out on a vacation and you hit terrible turbulence and it's just, something crazy could happen. All you're thinking about is, man, like, why are we both here together and the kids are back home with somebody else? It's just like, it's a weird feeling or weird thought, but it does go through your head. And we both had similar thoughts that it was that crazy that we thought, maybe maybe we come in a little bit too hot and this plane goes down. But yeah, it's just don't really want to think that way, but that's how rough it was.
Everyone was okay. That's the good news.
Yeah.
Different kind of travel craziness. The Capitals this week, they go to Philly. They start skating in the morning. Guys, Daniel Sprong and Justin Schultz get pulled off the ice for COVID results. And then within a couple hours, the game's postponed. Everybody has to fly home, start the Christmas break. It's just kind of one of those things that everyone's dealing with in the world right now. And the Capitals are right in the middle of that.
Yeah, they are. And so it's tough because there's so many different opinions on everything and how to handle it, what makes sense. And the first time I heard one of the players come out and say that they think that the everything should just be put on hold until after Christmas and just kind of see where everything is. And at first I thought, I'm like, what? Why? It doesn't make any sense to do that. And then as I thought about it a little bit more and seeing how many guys were testing positive, players and staff, it just, it made sense to me. We went through the same thing when we had the original shutdown. Like we got to the rink in Montreal for a skate, and we were supposed to get on a plane that day to head out to San Jose, where it was at the time the hotbed of COVID. And all of a sudden we just kind of all got pulled out of the dressing room, team meeting, and got sent home. Didn't come back for months. And so it's just one of those things where it's kind of like, I would assume for those guys, a bit of a relief. It's just like we don't have to worry about, am I going to be testing positive? Am I going to get to play tonight? How many guys are we going to have in the lineup? Is it going to be a bunch of guys that have been just called up, or is it going to be our full team? What's going on? So I would imagine that they were just kind of relieved to just put a little bit of a break to it, get a longer Christmas break too, which is a major bonus, I think, because it's my favorite holiday. So I'm sure they're probably fairly happy that they get to spend a little bit more time with their family and not have to worry about what's going on. But it's weird, and it's unfortunately the world we live in right now. So I mean, I don't know how you feel about it in terms of what you're doing and how you get to what you have to cover, because there's, I guess, less to talk about and to write about. But I think it makes sense for them to do this right now.
Unfortunately, it's more to write about. It'd be much easier if the games just went on and it wasn't every day we'd have to cancel or postpone this game or this guy's in protocol. It's kind of a pain in the ass, actually, for all this to kind of shuffle. And we don't even know. Like, as of now, we're talking on Wednesday the 22nd. As of now, the Capitals are supposed to play the Ottawa Senators on Monday the 27th, and we don't even know if that game's going to happen at this point.
Yeah, well, especially because it's a cross-border game. So
yep, exactly.
That's it's up in the air. I mean, I don't know. I just don't see it. I don't see it really ending that quick. I do agree with putting this pause on right now and start the break
right now,
a little bit sooner. But I don't know. I don't see how anything. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know how it's going to change before then. So what the league's going to decide, I'm not positive. I know the NFL, the way that they're handling things with, I believe it's testing less, right? And asymptomatic players are still able to play. Is that right? Or
yeah,
did I misunderstand that?
It sounds like what the NFL is going to do is something almost like a TSA random check of asymptomatic vaccinated players, to where unless you're unvaccinated, which is only in the NHL, Tyler Bertuzzi, or you're vaccinated with symptoms, you're only going to get tested in the NFL at least if you are kind of a random draw, essentially, almost like a lottery that you don't want to win.
Yeah, no kidding. It's like when we would get drug tested. It was always random. Sometimes it didn't seem so random, but it was apparently always random. And you didn't I guess you didn't really care, but it was just more annoying than anything. But I don't know. This goes beyond beyond just the players and whether or not they're able to perform. There's other people at risk, and I know, for example, the Montreal Canadiens, they got one of their trainers has diabetes, and so he's it doesn't. It just puts him at a little bit more risk, and so the way that he handles it and the rest of the training staff is a little different. So it's something that you just have to try and look at the full picture if you can. And I know sometimes it's hard for us to do it because we just want to watch hockey, and guys just want to play hockey and all that. But it's a difficult situation.
Yeah, and what seems like it's going to happen is NHL players usually, and I know you guys as a CBA kind of negotiated that extra Christmas break where nothing can happen on the 26th. Now everyone's going to come back on the 26th, a day early, do testing, and they're going to basically let anybody who's not positive go into the training facility. And so we could be on Sunday talking about a whole kind of rash of postponements because you could have teams like the Capitals walking in with half your team or more testing positive.
Oh heck yeah, yeah. It's going to be a wait and see because they're not going to know, and I don't know. They're going to have to make a pretty quick decision on what they're going to do. I'm sure they're already talking about it now and running through all the possible scenarios. But it's just weird. You know, we're so used to having a schedule and everything is laid out in front of you weeks in advance, and then all of a sudden this is going to happen. So yeah, good luck. Good luck to them. I'm happy I'm not in that situation right now. Definitely seems like a good time to be out of the game because you don't have to worry about all this extra stuff going on.
Absolutely, and one of the casualties of all these changes is the Olympics and the NHL not going to the Olympics. Next segment, Karl and I are going to talk about what seemed inevitable for a few days now: the NHL players not going to the Beijing Olympics. Welcome back to All's Caps with former Capitals defenseman Karl Alsler. I'm AP hockey writer Steve Wino, and the Olympics, it seemed like this for a while now. The NHL players are not going to the Olympics, so no Steven Stamkos, Victor Hedman, all those guys around the league. Obviously, Alex Ovechkin, Nick Backstrom, these guys not getting this chance to go to the Olympics. I guess maybe a silver lining of this, Karl, is our buddy Eric Fehr might now be playing for your boy Claude Julien on Canada.
Yeah, he might make it work. Yeah, this is I think part of the grand plan all along when he decided to start training again to get back to play because you know I know that he wanted to play in the Spengler Cup. Spengler is apparently an amazing tournament. I wanted to go play it the one year and unfortunately wasn't allowed to go and play and I had heard so many great things about it. So I think that was the plan and then you know with a little extra cherry on top would be to get to go to the Olympics. So if that still happens, I mean that would just be an amazing turn of events, and I hope it does work because he's spending some time out in the sticks in Russia now to play some hockey, biding his time to see if that's actually going to be the case where he gets to go and put on the jersey, the Canadian jersey again. So I hope for him it works out. I hope I mean, like the Olympics is like the top. You know, that's what you want to get to as a player, and if you're not one of the top guys in the NHL, and you never ever thought that you would ever have an opportunity to go and play in the Olympics. Now you're getting these guys that are able to live out this unbelievable dream after playing a couple of years in Europe, and now they're going to the Olympics representing their countries. I just think it's so cool. So you get a guy that never would have had a chance in a million years, probably out in playing in the NHL because they've gone over to Europe now. And next thing you know, you got these guys that are playing like Fairzy. Yeah, I don't know if Fairzy ever really dreamt of playing in the Olympics. I know I didn't dream of playing in the Olympics, and now next thing you know, he's getting a pretty solid chance to get out there and play. So that is definitely a silver lining. But I look at it, and I mean, like Connor McDavid still hasn't had a chance to play in the Olympics. You know, you got some of these guys that obviously would have been shoo-ins, and they may never get that chance. Like who knows if next time that the NHL is going to have guys go and play, and so it's just unfortunate because you like to see like the U.S. has made such a great push with talent, international hockey right now with the World Junior team, and we still don't get to see them clash with Canada. And I want to see that so bad. Not to mention even the Russians too. They got just unbelievable goaltending, so many good young players, so much offense. I don't know. I would love to watch it, but it is what it is, and I'm just happy that might have a friend that's going to be playing in the Olympics.
Yeah, and I actually did that 2018 Olympics when the NHL wasn't there, so I'm sure we'll be telling some more stories of that between now and when I got to get on a plane to go to Beijing for this, because I'm going to this anyway, with all the testing and all the restrictions and all of that. Unless they postpone this, I'm going to this. So it's just a shame that we're not going to be seeing a best on best tournament, and even for a guy like Alex Ovechkin, who has not won an Olympic gold medal, has won everything else in hockey. How much does this stink for him that he's going to have to wait maybe until he's I guess almost 40 years old to do this in Milan in 2026.
Yeah, so that's an interesting one because he over the last bunch of years, like he's taken he's taken all-star games off and tried to rest his body and all that. And it's tough because the team, Washington obviously needs him healthy, playing for them, and us as fans want him healthy so he can go out there and score as many goals as possible to beat the Gretzky record. But then you got the Olympics where he gets to compete for his country, which is very high on his list of things to do. So it's one of those weird ones. So maybe in the end, it's good. It's good and bad. I'd like to see him go there and compete, and as great as it would be for him to be able to capture that Olympic gold. Obviously, I'm a Team Canada fan, so I can't be cheering too loudly for him in that tournament. But if he never wins an Olympic gold, you would still think that he's pretty happy with everything
Sure, of
else that's
course.
gone on. But what I'm interested in is your trip to China. Like, what how's that work? You just there lone soldier just doing your thing, or is there a group of you? Do you have a guide? Because I feel like going there would just be so intimidating.
Well, the good news, the good and the bad news. The good news is this will be my third Olympics, and I did Sochi when I was working at Canadian Press. I did Korea in my first, I guess, third year at the AP. We send a whole crew of people. I know Greg Wyshynski, my colleague from ESPN, is still going on the hockey side to cover. So I'll have people around, but we still don't have flights to go there yet. It's a complete logistical nightmare. We're supposed to be testing every day. We've all heard about this kind of isolation rooms, isolation centers. So everybody knock on wood and hope that I'm able to make it through the Olympics and get back safely without any kind of quarantine, which I know the NHL players are worried about too.
So how would that? Do you even know yet? What would be your quarantine? So say you test positive, like a couple days before you're supposed to come back. What's your quarantine like?
Right now it sounds like it's a 3 week situation unless you can test negative. But I would like to not be stuck in Beijing for 3 weeks after the Olympics. I would like to be able to get home and not have to use a kind of a cargo plane or a cargo ship across the Pacific to get home. We don't know yet, and that's the thing that I know NHL players were getting nervous about, but we just don't know yet. And you have this new Omicron variant where kind of everybody's testing positive, and thankfully it seems like most of the situations for vaccinated people are very mild. We don't know if China's going to change the rules, if they're still going to be like, oh, if you test positive, you're a leper. We don't know exactly what's going to happen in that case, because it's certainly not going to be like the NFL where you're not going to test asymptomatic vaccinated people. And that's something that I was talking to a colleague earlier. If you're the Eric Fairs, the Philippe Malays of the world, Jason Demers, do you want to go to the Olympics? I think the answer is still yes. But with all these questions and knowing the Olympic experience is not the same, it is a legitimate question, right?
Yeah, so I would think like as an NHL full-time NHL guy who has their season going on, it definitely makes you think a little bit more. It's like, do I want to risk it to go to the Olympics and test positive, have to do all that stuff? But as like we said, as a guy who isn't playing in the NHL right now, and they're having an opportunity to realize a dream by playing in the Olympics still, I think you take that chance and you just go for it. Eventually you're gonna test negative, and you'll get to go back to wherever you were playing before
You
and,
hope
and
so,
finish
right?
off your
Yeah.
season.
Yeah.
Yeah, eventually. But yeah, it just I think in that scenario, the risk is definitely worth the reward of getting to play, especially with an opportunity to win a gold medal. I mean, Canadians are always competitive, even though it's not the NHL guys. I think they'll still be very competitive and have a good opportunity. So yeah, that's thinking positive and testing negative is going to be the slogan of the Beijing Olympics.
That's what Ron Rivera says all the time, and yeah, that's the risk. 2018, at least when like Wojtek Wolski was on that Canadian team in
Mhm.
2018. Ben Scrivens was the goalie. Like it was a tournament that no one cared about except for those of us who were over in Korea, and I fear it's that now. But now you've got the risk of testing positive. You're not going to really have kind of the Olympic Village experience. I don't know for players or for us what to expect, but I'm afraid that those of you back in North America aren't going to even be watching this tournament now.
Yeah, that's definitely the concern with the time change. you're going to get less eyes on it. I definitely will go on record and say I won't be probably I won't be tuning into any games live. Most likely, I'll check the scores and all that. But
Just read my
um,
stuff. I don't care if you watch the games. Just read my stuff.
exactly. Well, that's all I do is I'll be reading. I won't be watching. So I have to brush up on my reading skills because I'm better at watching things than I am reading right now.
Do you mean to like record my stories and like read them out loud for you so you can listen to it like a podcast?
Yes, please. I need audio books only.
I'll
I
be.
actually did. It's so funny. I did put a book down a year ago because I was reading it. I'm like, geez, like I feel like I'm somewhat smart, but I was reading this thing and I'm like, this is just too hard to follow. Like the words this guy is using right now, I gotta stop because I'm making myself feel so dumb. So I had to put it down, and I ended up starting a different book, an audiobook.
Well, I write at a grade 5 level, or that's what we're told to write at. So I don't think that's any concern of not understanding anything I write.
That's so funny, and it's true though. You don't want to write at a level that people aren't going to always understand, and it's just easier to read. I totally get that. There's been times where I've thought, because Mandy's brother is actually he's one of the smartest people I've ever met in my life, and he's really good at explaining things to people. Something that seems like it's too hard to understand. He's really good at explaining it. But then there's been times where I'm like, I'm gonna put a few really big words in my back pocket and just throw them out there every now and then and see if he how he reacts to that, or even if I pronounce them correctly. So I've always kind of had like a list, I guess, of if I go to my notes right now, it just says like big words to use sometimes, where I'll try and throw out these words, and I'll probably I won't even pronounce them correctly, but it's fun to know those things sometimes.
You've asked on Carl's stupid questions kind of what the word you can't spell every time, and I was saying this to
Yeah,
somebody the other day. For me, it's privilege. Every time I type it, I can't get it right.
yeah. What so you? I guess yeah. But if you're typing, you got autocorrect
Thank
though,
God for
right?
spell check. Basically, essentially,
Yeah.
yeah. I just it's again I get paid to do this. I get paid to write, and it's one of those where I'm like, nope. Every time I can't get this correct.
Oh yeah. No, we all got our word like that. I mean, for me, it's probably restaurant. I always spell restaurant wrong. I don't know why. Like right now, I probably couldn't even spell rest. This is where I screw up. Is it if it's au or
You,
a
yeah, you
e
got it.
r?
You got it. You
That's
got AU. You got it.
yeah. So there you go. Anyways, that I fold. I would have to type it into my phone. So that's yeah, it's one of those things, or just you can't. I can't get over that mental block of restaurant and just go
That,
say the place I'm gonna eat.
that's the problem when you're trying to make a reservation. But that's that. As long as you know how to call a place and make a reservation and Google it, you'll be fine.
Exactly. Yeah, that's pretty much where I leave it right now. And I just picked up my notes of big words, and I'm trying to figure out if there's any of them that I can drop sometime in one of these podcasts. You'll definitely notice it when it comes out.
We're gonna have to have like hidden word things, like a bit of make sure we get a certain word or phrase into every episode from now on.
Absolutely. I'll get one in. Don't worry. I'm already starting to think about it right now.
We're all about bringing the levity here. I know everything is. We're all talking about cancellations and stuff in the Olympics. When we come back, we're going to talk about the World Junior Hockey Tournament, which is starting in Alberta, and some pleasant memories about Karl Osner in the World Juniors. Welcome back to All's Caps. So with former Capitals defenseman Karl Osner, I am AP hockey writer Steve Wino, and it's World Junior Hockey time, which is as much as we can kind of lament the Olympic stuff going on, a happy time, a really good hockey tournament that you were fortunate enough to be a part of twice, right, Karl?
Yeah, very, very fortunate to be a part of twice. It's like, yeah, I think it's starting to get bigger in the US, but it is massive in Canada. It's what everybody talks about. Everyone looks forward to it. It's all over the TV, the radio, everything. And, you can't really go anywhere without hearing someone about it. In the US being the defending champions, it'd be nice to have that, I guess that same level of excitement here. I haven't really heard anybody talk about it in this area, but I would imagine there's some places. I was looking at the US Team USA's roster earlier today, and they got I think it's the University of Minnesota and Michigan who has some serious representation on that team. So I'm sure that there's some places that are talking about it as much as everybody does up north. So it's very exciting times. I'm already working on get my feed so I can watch some of the Canadian games down here as well.
Yeah, and I think around Washington, we'd be talking about it more if Hendrix Lapierre were on the team. Hockey Canada released the roster a few days ago. Hendrix Lapierre not part of that team. He was sent back to junior. That's a tough break for a kid who thought, I guess, he was going to be playing high level Q hockey in Quebec League and then also playing in the World Junior Tournament.
Absolutely, yeah, because you get so much good experience from the World Juniors. It's very high pressure, extremely good competition. You learn a ton, and so it's extremely unfortunate. And we had talked about this earlier in the year. If you're going back to junior, there's a couple ways that players will handle that, and they'll handle it either by going back down there and being like, I should just be in the NHL. I don't want to be here, and I just want to get out of here and go back now that I've got a taste of what pro hockey's like. And they don't necessarily bring that extra level from what they've learned playing there, whatever it was, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games pro. And I'm not saying that that's the case for Jimmy, right? We decided to go with Jimmy
Jimmy, yeah,
with him.
Jimmy's the name that
Yeah,
we should be going with. Yes.
with Jimmy. Yeah, I'm not saying that that's the case, but I'm definitely curious what the knock on him was with Hockey Canada, because some guys will go back after they get sent down, and they'll just rip it up because they've got that little bit of extra experience, and it would have been awesome to see what he could do in international hockey. And I think that would have gone a long way for his development. But yeah, it's probably something we won't find out, unfortunately. And maybe it can be one of those things that he uses to his little chip on the shoulder to prove that maybe he should have been there. And it could propel him forward if it goes that way.
Yeah, and a little bit of a disjointed season for him too, right? Where he starts the season with the Capitals, he's kind of playing every other game or so, and then he's sitting for a little bit and playing for a little bit, and then all of a sudden gets sent back to a team he was traded in the Q, I guess, last year, so he didn't really know anybody. It's been a tough go of a few months for Hendrix Lapierre.
Yeah, for sure. You get these like major highs down to some seriously low lows, and it all depends on how you can pick yourself up out of those. And I couldn't imagine, there was so much talk about him and in training camp with how impressive he was, great attitude. Guys loved having him around, and gets to stick around and play some games, and a possibility of staying the entire season. Then all of a sudden that gets flipped, and you're back down in junior with a bunch of guys. I'm sure he knows some of the guys, but still not super familiar, and then not making the World Junior team. Yeah, it's unfortunate, and it can, I guess, really really show you what kind of player they are, depending on how they bounce back from all that stuff. But that's some serious adversity to go through as a young person. So I'm sure in the end it'll be one of those things where he talks about it was a really good moment to learn from. And that's how I felt when I had my days in Hershey, wanting to be in the NHL so bad, and not enjoying the moment enough of playing in the American League with all the guys there, and having such a great team. And so hopefully it goes that way. But yeah, it's a lot of hits. It's a lot of hits to take.
Sure, and fortunately for you, you got to play in the World Junior twice, with two gold medals, and one of the team you were on. This was the Jonathan Toews year, Brad Marchand. Like, what do you remember from your 2 years in that tournament, including being the captain for Canada the second time?
Yeah, so it was interesting. My first year, it came down to me and one of my best friends, Dustin Cohn. Actually, we played on the same team. He was my neighbor. We always drove to the rink together. And then that one year, he got traded to Brandon, and it came down to me and him to get that last defenseman spot. And unfortunately for him, and fortunate for me, but it was one of those bittersweet feelings where I knew I had another opportunity next year to make the team, and this was his last opportunity at it. And that tournament can really change your career arc. Making a team like that could really change things. And he still played some games in the NHL, which was awesome. But yeah, I ended up making the team over him, and we had a phenomenal squad. It was really well constructed. We had great offense, unbelievable checking line that was just absolute tormenting other teams' top lines. They had so much speed. It was so much fun to watch them play. And then Carey Price in the pipes there he was just phenomenal in that shootout that we did have when Jonathan Tays was the hero offensively, and that U.S. team was stacked too. I mean, that was Patrick Kane was on that team, and I think he was. I think everyone was starting to realize how good he was at that time, and so it was just an insane matchup. And I think actually, well, this is a funny thing. I was talking about this yesterday, is that we had another defenseman, Chris Russell, on the team, and now he plays in Edmonton,
Yeah,
and I think he just passed the record for the most block shots by a defenseman in a career, I believe. And
he's a
in
nut
that
job. Yeah,
tournament,
yeah.
yeah, and in that tournament, he also set the record for most goals by a defenseman. And so it was just so weird to see, how people. I guess it's just it just goes to show you how you have to fill a role at some point in your career. And in junior, he was a 80, 90 point defenseman scoring goal after goal, setting a record at the World Junior Tournament for goals scored. And now in the NHL, he's known as a shutdown defenseman that just blocks shots. It's just weird how everybody has to fill a role, and that tournament will bring that out in you. And so anyways, it was a great year, really good team. And then the next year when I got to be captain, it was just boatloads of pressure. But same thing, we had a really well constructed team. We did lose a game in the round robin in overtime to Sweden, which really, really hurt us. But at the same time, I think kind of solidified us as a group of guys that we just came together after that. And I think we played some really solid hockey, and getting to lift the trophy. I saw someone posted a picture of it and sent it to me today, lifting the trophy, and it's like just instant flood of memories and how much fun we had. And just for some reason, 2 years in a row, got the U.S. in the semifinals, and it's as everyone knows, it's one of the biggest rivalries in hockey. So it was fun that we had that opportunity, get to kind of realize all those dreams, and big springboard into the next phase of hockey.
And you mentioned the kind of Chris Russell. This was what we're talking about with Eric Fair too. Like throughout his career, he was a big goal scorer in the dub in WHL, and then all of a sudden has to be kind of a shutdown guy. That tournament that you played in the first time, how much, not to disrespect what you did for Calgary, but how much do you think that tournament helped you become a top 5 pick?
Oh God, it was. I never would have been top 5 pick without it. Like usually you are, you're already drafted by the time you make that team, right? So normally you're typically 19 years old, I guess,
Right.
when you're playing in that tournament. And so I got to play when I was 18, and I didn't. I was a late birthday as well, so my draft year was later. So I just had way more opportunity than most guys to, I guess, to prove what I could do. And it was one of the best years of hockey that I had statistically. And so it just, it went a really, really long way. And I got to play with Drew Doughty, who, it was a bit of a coming out party for him as well in that tournament. So I never would have been drafted 5th overall, I don't think, without having played in that tournament. It was really good. And like you said, it's in all sports, and I think hockey maybe especially, is that you sometimes have to lose a little bit of yourself for the better of the team. There's lots of guys that can go out there and play offensive and take risks and try and score goals at the sacrifice of maybe some defensive play. And would I personally have loved to have gone out there and played way more offense at times, but I knew that I was relied heavily on to play defense and to make sure I was there to back up my forwards, my defense partner, or help out the goalie. And so everybody just kind of falls into a role, and once you're in that role, it's pretty hard to change that. And so you're just trying to survive. You're trying to make a living. You're trying to stay in the league as long as possible. And if that means that you have to block shots and do it that way, then that's what you do. If it means you're trying to fight guys, unfortunately, that's what you do also. And so it's kind of interesting how it all shakes out.
Yeah, and you're far from the only Capitals guy on this generation to have big World Junior success. Alex Ovechkin obviously did that, and your guy John Carlson, who I know you spoke with about trying to join us at some point. We have to. Can we get him on and just say we're going to talk about his World Junior heroics next week? Because if we have no other hockey to talk about, we better be talking about some happy memories about John Carlson and guys in the World Junior.
No, he was going to come on this week, but that's what happens when the season takes a turn, and next thing you know, you're on daddy duty, and it takes up all your time. So we will. But I remember that when the year that he he went there because we were in Hershey playing, and he asked if he should go back. You know, he could either stay with us and continue to play in the American Hockey League, or have an opportunity to go play in, like I said, one of the best tournaments in hockey. And I was really pro World Juniors, wanted him to go and play, and he ended up doing that, and broke a bunch of Canadians' hearts in the process, and came back with that huge shit-eating grin on his face after, and it was great for him, put him on the map, and I think really gave him a little bit extra confidence to end up doing what he did the rest of that year in Washington. I think he was just a stud when he got called up and played as good as he did, and so I think that tournament helped. But yeah, we'll try and get him out there and get him on here and see if he'll tell us a little bit about that, and how things ended up going for him, because he was a major celebrity after that.
Right, and we'll be remiss if we're not saying everybody. We hope everyone gets to enjoy their Christmas, their holidays, and everyone's safe out there. Karl, what are your family plans for Christmas?
Well, we actually are taking possession of our house tomorrow.
Congratulations!
So, yeah, thanks. My visa came through a few days ago, so it's been pretty good news so far for us here. So our plan is to I think start to move in a little bit, just get a few things we got in storage here into the house, just take it easy. And I don't really know. I don't, with everything that the guys have going on, with a bunch of guys testing positive, and don't really want to get in the way of what they have going on. We'll probably stick to ourselves for the most part, and just try and get outside. We went to Enchant the other night.
At Nationals Park, yeah.
Yeah,
How was that?
super cool. It was really, really great. I loved it. After we got home, I bought myself a one of those bubble snow machines that shoots out like bubble foam, so it makes it look like it's snowing. So I thought that was a nice touch. So I picked up one of those right as soon as I got home, and I'm trying to figure out. They got these sweet little like twinkly lights in the stands right now, and the security guard got mad at me because I walked into the stands trying to figure out what they were and what name was on them, so I could buy those too. Like I said, a huge Christmas fan. I just love everything about it and decorating. So I wanted to buy some of those as well. But it was a good time. Kids loved it, and if you want to get in the Christmas spirit, I think that's a good thing. So I'm also going to try and get back down to the wharf. Being there the other night, we're going to try and do that maybe tomorrow, and just I don't even know, maybe get on the ice, maybe go for a twirl. I got a pair of rollerblades the other day too, so I'm just gonna try and counter all the junk I'm gonna eat and stuff I'm gonna drink. So that's kind of my plan. What about you?
Yeah, no, well, it's nice that you'll have the you could pop some champagne in your new house and celebrate, and no, just family for me, and just the same thing, that it's nice to get a few days off. As much as we like watching the NBA games and the football games on Christmas, having worked those days, you realize how many people have to stop their family time to work those, and it's one of the things I appreciate about the NHL is there are no games on Christmas Eve, there are no games on Christmas Day, and we can kind of all sit back and relax and enjoy that time with family rather than being at the rink.
Yeah. I'm honestly, it's one of the best things about retirement is getting to enjoy the holidays and not worrying about everything that you're consuming and that it's going to hurt you when you come back to play. And so I definitely think the NHL does that right. I love that we negotiated for having 3 days off. That's I think that's huge as well, and just gives, like you said, everybody that has to stop to work those games a little bit more time. Like someone was telling me at this place we go and take the kids, it's called the St. James, and that it was going to be open on Christmas Day. And I was just thinking, oh my goodness, thank God I don't have to go and work on Christmas Day, because it's I just like people to be able to enjoy the family time and I guess relax a little bit.
Right, and for those of you who do have to work on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, hope it all goes well. Hope everybody's safe out there, and we'll talk to you next week on AllsCaps.